President Biden recently threw cold water onto the idea of large-scale student loan debt cancellation. Though the president is reportedly considering some debt forgiveness, his remarks wrangled some members of his voting base, not just because student loan debt overwhelmingly burdens women and black people, but also because it marks just another big-ticket issue that Biden campaigned on that he hasn't been able to deliver on. No police reform, no universal pre-K or climate action, and as of right now, no student loan debt forgiveness. With Republicans expected to make big gains in the upcoming midterm elections, some progressives are rushing to map out a winning strategy and remind people of what is at stake. It's not just that Democrats could lose the majority. It's that the country risks losing its democracy. In an interview with NPR, California Democrat Ro Khanna warns, quote, "If the GOP does indeed take over the House next year, President Biden will be impeached and certain Democrats will be forced off committees. We don't just risk losing the majority. We also risk democracy." And joining me now is California Congressman Ro Khanna. So, Congressman, what should the message be for Democrats going into these midterm elections, given all that you've just said is at stake?
Zerlina, we have to make it a choice election. This is not just an up and down vote on President Biden or Congress. It's what do you want? Do you want a Congress that is going to be fighting to eliminate more student loan debt, to tackle the climate, to make sure that we're getting childcare? Yes, we haven't gotten everything done. We got infrastructure done. We got stimulus checks. But that is our agenda. That's what we want to continue to work towards. Or do you want to hand it over to the Republicans, who are going to basically impeach Biden, kick people off their committees, and engage in a cultural war like DeSantis is in Florida? I mean, that's really the choice the country has.
You wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post urging the president to cancel student loan debt. And you wrote that if Democrats want to regain the trust of people across the country, both young and old, rural and urban, and across lines of race, gender, and class, we need to deliver on the things that materially improve people's lives. I mean, more than 43 million Americans have federal student loan debt. I mean, this is an issue that is universally popular. What do you think is behind the president's hesitancy in doing this?
I think he has advisors telling him that there's going to be resentment from those who've already paid off their student debt. That's just not true. I mean, I've paid off my student debt, and I think, wow, I was so fortunate that I had the opportunities to do it. But I know what it's like to have that debt, and I want to make sure other people don't have that debt if they're struggling. This is something that is so obvious, that cuts across geographical lines, racial lines, gender lines. And, you know, this idea that you're helping people who are already doing well is just not true based on the economic studies. It helps people and families who have the lowest wealth in our country. So it's an economically right thing to do, and it's a popular thing to do.
Look, the debate to cancel student loan debt, we've had it lively debates on our editorial calls. I hear both sides of this argument, but I land on the side of, with what other public policy do we say, oh, it benefits other people but not me, so I'm against that public policy? That doesn't make sense. We never do that with anything else but this. And so I don't understand why people are hung up on the fact that, like, well, I paid my student loans, so other people should have to do that, when, you know, the full scope of policy means that there are things that you pay for that other people benefit from, and you get that back. It's called democracy. Okay. Let's talk about Jan 6, because that's the other piece of this, which, you know, there's the policy side of things, making people's lives better, but there's also the fact that there was a whole insurrection that happened on January 6, 2020. I mean, how big a role do you think the public hearings will play in shaping and helping shape the message that Republicans are actually working against American democracy?
So, they're going to be critical. What people are going to see when they tune into these hearings is how high up the plan went. I mean, right now we see people who are caught up in a mob, who engaged in the insurrection, who are scaling the Capitol walls, and they should be held accountable. They should be prosecuted. But the real challenge, the real problem, is that there were senior advisors to President Trump who had PowerPoint presentations, 20, 30 senior people at the White House who were plotting how they were going to overturn an election that they knew that they knew President Trump had lost. And when that all is exposed, I think people are going to pause and say, do we really want to have those people back in charge? Do we really want to empower those folks, which is what it would mean if they have the House of Representatives? And are we really going to take the risk that a Republican House would try to do this in 2024? And those things, I think, those choices are going to become clear for the American public as we head into November.
So before we go, along the same lines, the January 6th committee is now requesting information from 3 sitting Republican lawmakers, each members of the House Freedom Caucus. This is voluntary, but how significant do you think it is that we have to explore whether a sitting congressman were involved in an alleged plot to overturn democracy?
I mean, it's shocking. It really is shocking that you may have had alleged interaction with sitting members of Congress, with people who were storming the Capitol. My view is if there's nothing to hide, just share the information. And obviously, everyone is presumed innocent unless there's information. So I would just hope everyone would cooperate and get the committee the information that they deserve.
Congressman Ro Khanna, it's always great to chat with you. Thank you so much for being here, and please stay safe. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.